This is Things Police See, First-Hand Accounts, with your host, Steve Gould.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast that interviews active and retired police officers about their most intense, bizarre, and sometimes humorous moments on the job. I'm Steve Gould, and with me as always, Ken Roy Ball. Ken!
It is I.
Yes!
Hey, what's happening, man? I'm here.
Excellent. You're alive. You're living. You're in lockdown.
Alive. You know, I have to say, my brother used to be in radio, news radio in Los Angeles in the 80s, and he always used to tell me that, he said, I have a great face for radio, so I as well, I have a great face for podcasts.
I'm in the same boat, and you never told me your brother was in radio. That's fascinating to me.
Yes, he was. Used to be KFWB News Radio in Los Angeles. He went on to be a school teacher. So, but he was doing that for a long time. It was kind of cool listening to your brother on the news radio.
That's very cool. Is he still teaching, or is he retired?
No, he's retired.
Oh, okay. Well, if I know where to go, if you ever bail on me.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah, that's right.
It's
his name.
Is it Roy Ball?
No, his name is Memo, like, which is, let me see. Memo is a nickname for Guillermo William.
Holy cow.
William.
Right. That's too much name for me. He'd never make it on the show.
Yeah.
There
you go.
All right, brother. Well, we have today we have a 13-year veteran from a small town in western Pennsylvania. His name is Jay. He's active on the job, so we're not going to give away too many details. But I know it's a very small agency. It's like 10 officers, but he is involved in a state and federal task force, I think, for narcotics, and he's also a field training officer.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Let's dial him up.
Yeah. Most importantly, he's a fan of the show. So let's see.
That's the most important thing of all.
Nothing gets you on the show faster than saying, I like you guys. I automatically like you as well.
Guest. Yeah.
Here we go.
Sounds good.
Dial him up super fast.
Yeah.
There he is. Stand by to stand by.
Hello.
Jay.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, brother. Thanks for coming on the show, man. You're on with Steve and Ken.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Hey, good, man.
Good. I'm a little nervous, so hopefully this goes well.
No.
Don't be nervous.
Everybody says that, Ken, and then they're great.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Just you know, it's just a three guys meeting at a bar talking about police stuff over some beers. That's all.
Hey, that's exactly my style, so that's perfect.
Ken's retired, so he starts drinking at about 10 a.m. So this is
right. No doubt.
This is perfect. All right, brother. Well, I want to tell you first off, thank you for bumping up your schedule. We had a guy fall out, had a family emergency, and there wasn't going to be an interview in this time block, but you were able to squeeze in. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Not a problem at all.
And you listened to the show. You contacted me. How long have you been listening?
You know, I just recently started listening. I have about an hour drive to work, so it's perfect. I tune up the podcast, and then by the time I'm finished, I'm usually at work. So I've been listening about 2 months now. So, but I love the content. It's great stuff. Awesome.
Well, we appreciate that, brother. And you've been on the job 13 years in a West Pennsylvania department, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yep. Northwestern Pennsylvania.
And one thing I thought was pretty fascinating was in your brief bio you sent, you are involved with a state and federal task force for narcotics.
That is correct. Yeah, we work a state and federal task force. Like I said, we have a severe methamphetamine problem in my jurisdiction, in the region, basically. It's really bad. So we work with our state and federal brothers and on the task forces, and we work on trying to eradicate that problem, which is easier said than done.
You know, that meth was came out long after I left patrol, but just seeing the news stories, that is some nasty, nasty stuff.
It is. It really is, Ken. It's the problem is, like, if you have heroin or opiates or anything, when those people overdose on that, they nod out. When guys and girls overdose on methamphetamine, they're up for a week, 10 days, and the psychosis sets in. So you can be into some dangerous situations dealing with these people. Yeah, it is nasty. It's nasty stuff.
Yeah, I remember. I was just going to say, I remember back in the 80s when, there's crack cocaine, there's heroin, all this kind of stuff. But you could tell junkie when you saw one. They were just they looked like they were like homeless, but they were like advanced homeless or something. They had that look to them where you knew there was something up. But with these meth guys, it seems like it just ravages their bodies and their faces. You could just quickly tell a meth head.
Very scabby.
Yeah, certainly. And that's the thing with these people. I mean, man, the wear and tear that stuff takes on is crazy. I mean, I've seen people with, they lose their teeth, they have open sores all over their body. I mean, it's nasty stuff.
I remember having someone in the booking room that was a meth head, and they were. It reminded me of like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Like teeth rotting and just
you see
picking their face.
They have these websites you can go to and see before or after pictures of meth heads, and some of these people are they're really beautiful looking people in the beginning, their first booking photo, but by the end you go, oh my gosh, that is the same person. That's terrible.
Yeah, it really is. And it's where I work, the jurisdiction I work is considered a small town, about 8,000 people, and we see a lot of people that when I started working here weren't into the game, and now they're into it. And it's like, my word, what happened? Yeah.
So. I've been told in the past by friends of color that's a white person problem. Is that true? Is Whitey got the biggest problem with meth, and why is that?
Whitey.
What's wrong?
I would say so. In our jurisdiction, that's certainly the case. Yeah, I would say, at least where I work, that's what I see. Yeah.
It seems like the most unattractive drug. Like I understand like heroin and going on the nod, and that sounds kind of nice, something that would just, take your mind away to like La La Land. But methamphetamine is like, you want to get, you want to start tweaking out and ripping your own skin off. Yeah, let's do it.
Right. It's like, Steve, it's like you want to call the police 6 times because you think somebody's breaking into your house. This is the drug for you. You know what I mean?
What's the attraction of the drug in the first place? And is there a gateway drug that leads to this? I mean, what's the attraction of it?
I'll tell you what, with the methamphetamine, especially in my area, in the early 2000s, we got hit with it really bad, and it was the methamphetamine that was made in labs, and these people were making meth in their garages, in their houses, things of that nature. So I think the roots of it are there in my jurisdiction. And then it kind of went away, got replaced by heroin. Our department and back in the day worked real hard at fighting against the meth labs and things of that nature. So they put a lot of people away for a long time. On state and federal charges for numerous, meth labs and things like that. So it went away for a long time. When I started in my jurisdiction, it was heroin and, K2 and the synthetic drugs. And now it's come back full force with the crystal meth, which, through my understanding, can only be made in super labs in south of the border. Is what I've been told. So we're getting hit full force with it. I think the allure of it is just, people's parents used it, people's grandparents used it, and it's just it's got deep roots in this part of the state, unfortunately.
Man, that is one scary drug. I live in the high desert in California now, like the base of the mountains. It's a nicer part of the high desert, but I was told when I moved out here, like, oh man, that's Tweakerville. If you go too far away from the mountains, it's, get to the low altitudes. It's, there's tons of tweakers out there. And I went for a walk, a long walk I have a big German Shepherd I take and a handgun. So I go for a walk and I get to this new construction, this big house, and it reeks of pot. And then the neighbor, another couple acres down, I chatted with her and she's like, oh yeah, I think it's a grow house. I'm like, what? They just grow pot? She's like, yeah. I'm like, go. Who cares? Go ahead, grow pot. I don't care as long as it's not crystal meth. That's what I'm worried about.
Right.
Yeah, out in the desert is notorious for that type of thing, where the sheriffs do drug raids and stuff because it's so rural. Nobody really patrols it, and they do all these meth labs. It's a big thing.
Oh, it's weird out here, man. Like if you go to a bad part of the high deserts. Like, I've never seen so many crazy white people in my life. They're like, you're pumping gas. You almost have to keep them off you with your foot. Like, get back. Come on. Let me fill my car.
Oh yeah. No, that's that's rural Pennsylvania is kind of the same way. You know, we, our closest backup, if we have a state trooper in the area, their barracks is about 40 minutes away. Ooh. There's another city department that's about 35 minutes away. So I always tell new guys when I'm training them, don't get yourself into something you can't get yourself out of. You know what I mean?
Man,
so
that's
we're pretty rural out there. We're on the line, you know.
I remember watching a taser video of a guy in the rural South, and he just kept tasing the guy, left him hooked up, you know. Yeah, he's like about 20 minutes before the state patrol gets here, and the guy kept, he just kept shocking him. I was like, "Woo, keep it going, brother."
Put a fork in him. Put a fork in him. Go, about 5 more minutes.
right.
Almost done.
Oh my.
Well, Jeff, can you tell us about the first hot call that you responded to, or I should rephrase this question? It could be a call that was hot to you at the time in your career, because it's going to be your first call that you were like, "Whoa," you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you, I thought long and hard about this. You know, there's been a bunch, you know, of decent hot calls, but my first real hot call that I can remember was actually a traffic stop. I was not in the jurisdiction I'm working at now is at another one, which is a regionalized department, where we covered, I think, you know, 7 different boroughs and towns, you know. So I pull a traffic stop. I'm the only one on this side of my jurisdiction, which is about my closest backup was probably at the time 25 minutes away.
Yikes.
So I stopped this car, and it's got a woman driving it. There's an African American male in the passenger seat, and both the driver and passenger are not looking at me. They're giving me the 1,000-yard stare, and I'm thinking, oh boy, something's up here, you know. So I call for my partner, who's, like I said, 25 minutes away. Said, hey, you know, get a hoof over here. I'm going to need some help. So I'm just talking to the driver, the female driver. She's a local. The gentleman that's with her, of course, is not a local. He's from, you know, metropolitan area, about 2 hours from my jurisdiction. So the whole situation seems off. Talking to the driver, I pull her out. Pass her back to my partner. He pats her down. I watch him pat her down. You know, he does the whole thing, the back of the hand between the breast, the pockets, the waistband, the whole 9 yards. Smell marijuana coming from inside the vehicle, so we decided to search. I guess I should have said that beforehand, but after we smell the marijuana, we pull her out. I pass her back to my partner. I pull the passenger out. I put him in a separate car after I pat him down. Searching through the car, all of a sudden I see a couple bullets for a 32, a caliber handgun on the floorboard of the passenger seat. I said, oh boy. So I tell my partner, I said, hey, you know, did you check her? And he goes, yeah. I said, double check her. And as soon as I said that, he walks back to the back of the car, opens the door, and I hear him yell gun. So the oh shit factor comes out now.
Sure.
Hopefully I'm allowed to swear on this.
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. So I run back to the, the car. He's yelling gun. I open the other door of the back seat of the car, and I see him, and he's wrestling with this woman who's got a little automatic pistol in her hand. And he's wrestling with her, trying to point the gun away from him. All the while, they're wrestling in the back seat of the car. In my infinite 21-year-old wisdom, I jump in the back seat of the car with the woman, and I pull out my service weapon and put it against her head. Basically, I was starting to take up the slack in my trigger, and at the very last second, my partner was able to smack her hand off the vehicle, and she dropped the gun. But I mean, I was probably a millisecond away from, being involved in a shooting over this. And that was the first time in my career where I was like, this is real. This is dangerous business.
Yeah.
And as a 21-year-old kid, basically. I got hired when I was 20. So as a 21-year-old kid, that was the first time in my career I said, oh shit, this is some real deal stuff.
That's young, brother, for sure. That's those when you were saying that, it was reminding me of those videos they show you for training on the side of the highway. Mm-hmm. It's always like a Pennsylvania trooper or down south or somewhere starts wrestling, and they always have these little guns, the bad guys, and then they end up getting shot by a 32 in the armpit, and it goes into their aorta. Right. I mean, that must have been going through your mind.
Oh, I'll tell you, the only thing that was going through my mind at the time that I can vividly remember is we searched this woman. I'm like, what the hell? We had her handcuffed. So I'm like, yeah, we had searched her, we'd handcuffed her, put her into the car. My partner, it come to find out she was a bigger woman.
You cuffed her in front?
She had what's that?
You cuffed her in front?
We had her cuffed behind, but she was a real big woman, and she had real skinny wrist. So she was able to slip the handcuffs, and then she had the pistol actually wrapped up in a towel in between her breasts. And I said to my partner after it was all said and done, I was like, do you not feel it? And he's like, because I watched him, I watched him use the back of his hand to pat her down. And I'm assuming with that gun wrapped up in that towel, he just glanced over it with the back of his hand and didn't feel it. But it was a bad situation, man. And all kinds of things were going through my mind during that. That was an eye opener,
Yeah, and for me, it would have been tragic. It would have been tragic if you had shot her. But for me, I would have been thinking immediately during the entire fight, I would have said, oh, man, this is the new uniform just got out of the cleaners. I don't want to get blood on me. Stuff like that, stuff that you think of like that. But,
yeah. Yeah, it was definitely one of those moments in my career that you're like, holy hell, that could have been real bad, Oh,
and patting down females is a nightmare anyways. Like they don't even want you to do it anyways, and they make you use the back of your hands. So it's like you're just apt to kind of graze over those areas.
Certainly. And, and that's an eye opener as a young officer. You're thinking like, did I do something wrong that could have cost us, big time, but after it was all said and done, we had a self-assessment with me and my partner, and we both were like, listen, I watched you pat this woman down, because he was upset about it too, and it was an eye opener, man. It was wild.
Absolutely.
We weren't allowed
to. The woman had an ounce of cocaine shoved inside her body.
Really? Which orifice did she choose for that?
She pocketed it in the front.
Wow! Yikes!
Yeah. So that was. So nobody died. We got a little bit of cocaine and all good. So.
And we weren't allowed to search females. We would have to call a female officer. But in your situation where your backup is 25 minutes away, it's an officer safety thing. And searches of suspects, because you got to get in those little nooks and crannies where they hide these guns and stuff. And so it's not a matter of, it's a matter of safety. And so if you're by yourself and you have a female there, you've got to search them for officer safety. And this is exactly why people sometimes take exception to it, but screw that. That's just the nature of the job.
Right.
You want to go home that night.
Absolutely. I think at the time, or even in the county, we may have only had one or two female, deputies, and they only worked Monday through Friday, so the thing is, they take exception to it, but you have to do it. It could cost you,
Absolutely. I always thought I was good at searching until I transported my first prisoner to the county lockup, and I watched a deputy sheriff do it, and I said, that was a search. He was like all up in their beanbag and everything. I'm like, well, this guy is thorough.
Yeah, those little boys, man, they go right at it. They don't care.
No,
there's one or two videos on YouTube where I think one was in Vegas, where they show the officer and the suspect are facing the camera. So the officer is behind the suspect, searching the guy, and he's patting him down by the waist, and then all of a sudden on the video you hear the officer go, what's this? The guy. The suspect goes, that's my penis, sir.
Oh, boy. What a compliment.
Yeah, if that were me, I'd say, hey, thanks,
Oh, brutal. Hey, do you go by Jay or Jeff? I don't want to go flip-flop on you.
It's okay. I go by Jay generally, so
Jay?
It's all right.
Okay. Yeah. Ken just texted me that, like, you might be getting this guy's name wrong, but okay.
No, it's all good. It's all good, man.
Call you Jay.
Offensive.
Yeah, right.
All right, brother. Can you describe the strangest or most bizarre thing you've dealt with?
Oh my word! I thought about this, and this is another one. I've dealt with some strange calls. We've where we live is or where I work at is it's a pretty old city. It's been around for a long time, and you get the average ghost calls where people think there's ghosts in your house, things of that nature. Which are odd, but they're more so funny.
Right.
We had an incident in our department where a guy had been using methamphetamine. He had overdosed on methamphetamine, and when officers got there, he had taken a knife, and he had started to basically cut his own hand off.
Oh.
From what I was told, now mind you, I wasn't at this call, but this is one that stuck out in my mind that sums up our jurisdiction to a T. This guy had used so much methamphetamine that he said that Jesus had told him to cut his own hand off. My chief was there. My chief, I got there at the shift change, and he goes, listen, and he'd been a cop for a long time. He goes, that's the craziest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The guy had cut basically 3/4 of the way through, cut his hand off.
Couldn't finish it, huh?
Yeah. Jesus told him to go ahead and cut it off. And
the Bible does say that, actually. It says if your right hand sins, remove it. Or something like that, doesn't it, Ken?
That's one way to think about it, Steve.
Yeah. Hey, you know what, Steve? We had an interview a couple of months ago where the guy cut his penis off. Remember?
Yeah, Brad Nishwitz. I'll never forget that interview.
Yeah,
wow.
And that's like, oh, dude, hey.
Yeah, that's something else right there, man. That you walk into something like that just makes you shake your head.
Yeah.
I guess and I guess it wasn't a very sharp knife from what I was told.
Oh, I'm sure
so
it wasn't.
That's just, like I said, I wasn't at that call, but that's one that sticks out in my head as bizarre. And of course we have the people that are up for 7-10 days,
Wow.
seeing black shadows running through their house, and it's police work in general is just a strange lot of stories. It's hard to keep them all track.
Oh yeah, because you're up at all the witching hours when everybody's asleep.
I work 3 midnights out of my 5-day week, so the creatures of the night are my people generally. So
yeah, you ought to find that guy and tell him that Jesus Christ spoke in a lot of parables. And that it wasn't literal all the time.
I'll have to let him know.
You'll probably have no limbs by the time you find him.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, man. Absolutely.
All right, Jay, can you tell us about your most intense and or terrifying call?
Yeah, I mean, I had another situation when I was a young officer where I get a call, same jurisdiction as the first story I told you. I get a call from a kid about 19 years old. He was living with his mom, and he said, hey, I'm moving out of my house. My mom's upset about it. I call in a constable. In Pennsylvania, a constable is like, they can be hired by people to come and, stand by for civil process and things like that. So this kid says, hey, I called this constable. He's going to come help me stand by until I can get all my stuff out because things aren't going well with my mom. The kid says, hey, do you mind just coming up here for safety? Because my mom's acting all kinds of weird. I was like, okay, not a problem. So I go up to the kid's house and I'm talking to the kid in the yard, and I see the mom standing in a glass door. She's behind the door. And, she's just standing there. She's bawling and crying, and she's all upset, and he goes, see, I told you, she's upset. So I said, I'll go talk to her, find out what's going on. So as I walk up to the door, like I said, she was crying, mascara's running. She's really upset, and she's shaking her head no at me. And I'm like, this this isn't going to go well. So I tried to grab the door handle. She sees me trying to grab the door handle to open the door. She locks it right as I'm trying to grab it. And I'm like, oh, shit. She locks the door. She's just standing there. And I'm telling her to open the door, and she continues to shake her head no at me. So at this point, I'm scanning the room where she's standing in, and in the corner of the room, like a long hallway at the bottom of the steps, there's a shotgun sitting there. And I'm like, oh, shit. And as my mind's going through this, I say that. She turns like she's going to start walking towards the shotgun. And at this point, I grab my expandable ass baton off my belt, and I'm like, open the door. She looks back, and she starts beelining for that shotgun. I take my baton out, and I smack that glass door and break it with one hit. Luckily, I don't know how, those are normally pretty tough to break. But I must have hit it in the right spot, busted through, and she's moving now at a steady clip towards that shotgun. She gets it into her hand. She grabs it with one hand, and right as I'm able to grab a hold of her. So the fight's kind of on, we're rolling around. She's got the shotgun, and we're rolling around in the glass, and I'm able to, after a couple of swift blows, she dropped the shotgun, and I was able to get her subdued. But after I get her secured, I racked the shotgun, cleared the shotgun, and there was one cartridge in the gun. So I don't know if she was going to try to shoot herself. I don't know if she was going to try to shoot me. The whole situation, but it was it was a frightening situation there for a split second. You see a woman who's obviously distraught charging off for a shotgun, and it's like, oh shit, it's time, it's go time.
Yeah. What was going on there?
Well, I think she was having a mental health breakdown because of the son trying to leave. I think she was going to try to shoot herself in front of me and the son. Ultimately, luckily I was able to get her stopped and get her some mental health help there. But I definitely, in my opinion, of course, I don't know this for sure, but I'm fairly certain she was going to try to shoot herself in front of us, kind of as a statement. I think that she had some mental health issues in the past, and the son trying to leave and get out of there really exasperated that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Pennsylvania's, I imagine there's a lot of guns in that state. It seems very rural, a lot of hunting, and every house you go into.
We have a lot of, yeah, that's the thing. A lot of houses we go into, a lot of cars that we stop. I mean, just basically everybody's carrying a gun, and I'm a gun owner. I'm a gun guy. But yeah, there's definitely some people out there that are carrying guns that definitely should not be doing so.
Oh yeah. Wow, that's an intense one, man. I would like to. No, go ahead.
Yeah, it was definitely again. You have these moments in your career, and that was another one where you're like, holy shit, that a fraction of a second could have changed the whole deal. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you guys went through that when you were, on the job.
It makes you wonder with people, like, you're in a no-win situation if you try and take on a cop in that situation, because cops their mindset is to look for the danger zone, and they're combat ready. And for people to just do things that are just going to are going to end their life, you got to wonder what the hell is wrong with you, man, because you're not going to win this gun battle, but they still go for it anyways.
No, I know it. Yeah, and that's the thing. Well, that's just shows the degree of how desperate some of these people are.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah. Jay, I'm curious. How does one join a federal or state task force? How did that come about?
Well, with the state task forces, Pennsylvania's a little different. Bigger jurisdictions will have like their own vice unit or their own, internal drug task forces. In Pennsylvania, a lot of like the smaller counties either have a county drug task force, or you join a drug task force which is ran by the Attorney General's office. They basically fund the drug task force, and then it's members from like every department sends, 5-6 guys, and it kind of, you make up these big regional task forces like that. So basically, if you're a go-getter on patrol, your chief will generally get you signed up so that you can work the drug cases. And once you're signed up, you're good to go throughout the state. So it kind of covers your jurisdictional issues as well.
That's pretty cool. Especially, that's really got to help smaller towns out, smaller areas out, when a lot of times officers maybe wouldn't want to go to a smaller community, but with the idea that you could kind of expand your territory and get into some drug interdiction stuff is appealing.
Right.
It might be like the perfect combination. You got a small town, but then also you have this task force you belong to.
Yeah, and it's, it gives you great experience. It gives you, and it helps the department with funding, things of that nature. And you also get to work with guys from all over your county too, so it's, it's helpful on a bunch of different levels. And I focus generally on guns and drugs as my, my nuance of the job is my favorite things to get. So that's what I'm always, working on. So it definitely helps. It helps for smaller departments.
Is it plainclothes stuff a lot?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. It's generally always plainclothes. Every once in a while, you'll do something in uniform where, you're doing a stop, a whisper stop or something, when we hear something's coming down the pike. But generally, yeah, it's always plainclothes surveillance. We cultivate informants and then sign the informants up, and just like your vice units would do in bigger departments.
Very cool.
Is there a jurisdictional pecking order where like we're in charge and automatically, how does that work?
With the state police, they're generally everywhere outside of your jurisdiction. Generally, the state police handles anywhere that there's not a police department. But when you're signed up with the Attorney General's office, they're a state agency as well. So you're good to go. You're generally I forget what it's called, but you send stuff out when you're working in an area so that you're not conflicting with other agencies' investigations as well. So it kind of, we don't really see a whole lot of that. Generally, we're all on the same team, and it doesn't get too muddy usually.
Oh, that's right, because we had Beth Sanborn on. She was from a Pennsylvania department, and we kind of had a back and forth about Pennsylvania and Mass both being commonwealths and both being kind of jurisdictionally challenged. Like there's no other states, which make a lot of sense, have just peace officer status. Like, all right, you're sworn to be a cop. We all go to police academy. Right. You have authority. So it sounds like when you get sworn in with the district attorney, that kind of takes those woes away. Yeah, absolutely. It does. And that's what helps you be able to go, countywide or statewide for your investigations, Very cool. But yeah, Pennsylvania's a little ancient in some of their ways, Yeah, it's kind of cool. The old blue laws, they call them in Mass. It's neat in a way, but it's not neat when it starts to screw with how you operate. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I think in Mass you still have to kill seven bluebirds and one crow or something to get married. Right. Yeah, the policies out on the East Coast are so much different. And you were talking about constables, and those are not police officers, or they are? No, they're not. They're not police. Constables are not police officers. They are. They're voted like a voted position. They have their own special training. They'll serve warrants for judges' offices. They can stand by for civil disputes, things like that. We lucky, you get some decent constables, which they'll serve our warrants for us and stuff. Are they armed? Helps us out. I'm sorry. Are your constables armed? Yeah, they all they do. They carry weapons. They go through their own training. I'm not well versed with how they operate, but yeah, they are armed and they go through their own certification training and stuff like that. I'm not sure how long it is. But going back to Pennsylvania is also the Commonwealth where our sheriff's offices, they can't come out, and they're not actually considered law enforcement officers in some parts. They have to serve warrants. They're like an arm of the court. They serve warrants. They serve civil process, courthouse security. So we're kind of limited there with our sheriff's offices as well. We're just all around different. Yeah, so it's just like Massachusetts. Exactly. The sheriffs run the jails. They don't even run the courts. They just run the jails. They do some civil process. I think they can arrest for breach of the peace. That's the only thing they can arrest for.
Yep.
I think they have this is so screwy, but in Mass they have Chapter 90 powers technically by law, but chiefs of enforcement are the only ones that can assign motor vehicle books, and they all refuse to give them to the sheriff. So,
wow,
because they don't want them pulling cars over, because they have different training. They have like CO training, you know.
Right. Yeah, Pennsylvania is weird. All of our guys are I worked for a sheriff's office for a brief time, and I loved it. It was a fun job. But yeah, all of our guys, when I worked for a sheriff's office, were Act 120 certified. So we're state certified police officers, but we were all sworn in as county detectives as well. So that kind of eliminated the muddied waters of Can they stop cars? Can they not stop cars? So there's a lot of hoops to jump through.
Dude, Pennsylvania goes deep with the weirdness, man. County detectives, like what?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, we were sworn in as county detectives. And
county detective constable.
yeah. You get a long job title there real quick.
I love it. It's cool.
I don't understand your ways. I'm lost.
Yeah, listen. I'm lost too, Ken. So
I think there's nothing comparable to that in California, right, Steve? I mean, they got a highway patrol, which is state highways, sheriffs, and police. So
right,
yeah. It seems like that peace officer thing makes a lot more sense than like I know in Massachusetts, another Commonwealth like Pennsylvania, they've tried to get peace officer status, and I guess one of the biggest opponents of it is SPAM, the Massachusetts State Police. They don't want every agency to have statewide jurisdiction.
I think that's what we're encountering too. Especially with the sheriff's offices, the state police is definitely against that. I say more the merrier. We could rural departments especially could use the help. And the sheriff's guys are always good dudes. They're always good guys and girls. They're good workers, so I say more the merrier.
Yeah, it gets really into like dick measuring. Like a lot of I've heard chiefs in Massachusetts be like, "Well, I don't want people surveilling a town, a house in my city with me not knowing it," and they start thinking like, "Oh, they're going to come into our town, our city. They're going to start doing stuff," and that's not going to happen. Come on,
No.
But they have their little fiefdom, they have their power, and they really are not interested in sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something else. We could get a lot of stuff done if we stopped the dick measuring.
Absolutely.
Hey, Steve, do you remember by the personnel building in Los Angeles, Jay's, where we would work as background investigators?
Beautiful building.
And the personnel building smack in the middle of downtown Los Angeles. I mean, it's clearly Los Angeles. And Steve, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but right by the medical building, there's a little intersection with a stop sign. I walked past there going back to my car to go home, and tucked in the corner of this city of Los Angeles intersection was a sheriff's motorcycle looking to tag people for running the stop sign. So the jurisdictions that like the city of Los Angeles, although the state, all police officers are peace officers. You have peace officer powers throughout the state, but then city of Los Angeles would have jurisdiction in the city of Los Angeles. The county sheriffs would have jurisdiction throughout the county of Los Angeles.
Right.
And the state highway patrol would have jurisdiction throughout the state. So they could go on any city street or in any jurisdiction.
Right. Yeah.
And it was just weird seeing a sheriff, Los Angeles County Sheriff motor unit just sitting there waiting to give out tickets in the city of Los Angeles. It's just weird.
Hey, it does, jurisdictional lines. You got to get those tickets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Jay, can you tell us about a positive situation that you've encountered, something heartwarming, dare I say?
Yeah, heartwarming. Okay. Luckily working in a small town, you get to see the upsides to a lot of your work, and I just remember when I started at my current jurisdiction, there was a kid that we knew he was up to no good. We knew he was probably selling a little bit of weed here and there. But we were trying. He was actually had a suspended license, and this kid was cocky as all hell. We'd see him driving, then he'd sneak away, so we couldn't. We we just basically were chasing this kid around for minor offenses. The kid was cocky. We didn't necessarily get along with this kid too much. But we ended up getting him one time. I got him on a traffic stop, got him for driving while he was suspended, and a little bit of weed in his car. So we go to court, and the kid says, "Hey, listen, I want to go to the military. I want to get out of here." So I'm like, okay. And we hear this all the time from especially kids, in the high school age. So I said, I'll tell you what, if you go to the military, you join he wanted to join the Army. I said, okay, if you go to the military, we'll suspend this sentence and I'll drop the charges once I see the paper that you're officially in. So the kid, he goes and he's trying to get in, and he's having some issues medically with his teeth, So he comes back to me, and the kid, actually, I start to get to talk to this kid. He's not a bad kid, needed his teeth fixed a little bit. And he, low income family, didn't have a lot of money.
Is this a Mountain Dew problem?
What's that?
Is this a Mountain Dew issue?
Yeah, it's a Mountain Dew, no dental insurance for a long, long time type of situation.
Yeah.
So long story short, I don't normally do this, but I helped the kid out with some money. I went to the dentist office and paid the dentist to, hey, take care of this kid.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Long story short, we got this kid finally taken care of. I suspended his sentence. I was at the mall, not even probably a month ago with my kids, and I see this kid, and I won't say his name, but I was like, hey, and he looks at me, he's like, and this kid now is squared away, high and tight, dressed nice. He was in town visiting, and I guess the kid's just doing great. I mean, he lives in Missouri now. He's got a wife and kid now, and it's just like, it was good to finally see, a kid that I thought was going to be a pain in my ass for the rest of my career turned out to be
cool.
Really, yeah, it was a good feeling. It was, it was heartwarming to, and the kid was appreciative, and, basically he was like, listen, I really appreciate what you did for me. You helped me get the hell out of here. So it was a good, heartwarming story. And, in law enforcement, you don't really always get that. So it was nice to see the fruits of the labor,
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Pretty cool.
That's really cool.
I'm a firm believer that police officers are called to that job. And I think that God puts us in places where, to do certain things for certain people. And
right.
if you touch one person's life and you make a difference, then you've done your job.
Absolutely.
You did what you're called to do.
Yeah, I totally agree, Ken. And that's the thing, I try to, when I train new guys as an FTO, I try to really hammer that in their heads. It's like, it's not about always writing tickets. Is it fun to write tickets and put bad guys in jail? Yes, it is. But also we're the front line to help people, and now more than ever with the worldly events that are happening, I think it's law enforcement's time to shine and really step up and help people the best that we can, because there's a lot of people out there right now that need it,
Absolutely.
Hey, question for you about being a trained officer. With these, you've got these fresh faced kids coming out of the academy, and they don't know squat about police work. How do you view your role as a training officer? And not only you're teaching them lifelong lessons to stay alive, which is kind of a unique position to be in. Mm-hmm. How do you view your role as a training officer, as far as influencing these young officers?
I was lucky when I started police work 13 years ago. I had some great training officers, and these are guys that had every reason to be like, sit down, shut up, don't ask any questions. These were salty guys that had been on the job for 30, 35 years, and I'm a 20-year-old snot-nosed kid. But these guys really took it personally to make sure I knew how to stay safe was number one. They basically taught me everything there was to teach me about being a cop. But they did it in a way where they still treated me like a man, like a grown man. And really, really were mentors throughout my career. They still are. Some of them still are. So that is my role as an FTO. Is I try to approach it as like, yeah, these guys are new. They're out of the academy. But I really work with them to treat them as an equal to begin with. And I try to be more so a mentor than a sit down, shut up type guy. Cause we've all seen those FTOs. But I try to take that as, my role is to be there in the long run for these guys. And we have less than 15 guys in our department. So I'm going to be there for these guys for a big bulk of our careers, so my number one goal is to basically just be a mentor the best that I can and keep these guys safe, because we're a small department and we all rely on each other, so there's not much room for coddling, but we try to take care of these guys. And luckily everybody I work with is a great group of guys and we're all go-getters, and yeah, we don't have any issues. So, but yeah, I love doing the FTO thing. I really do.
Yeah, being a training officer is a tough gig because you're taking someone out who there's no easing into police work. You're the first day out of the academy, you can go to a shooting, or you can get into shooting. So there's no warming up to police work, and so it can be an issue for you because you've got to watch your rear, and you've got to keep this other person alive because it's trial by fire, and something happens, shots fired or something like that, and this kid doesn't know we've never been in that situation. So you've got to watch yourself and them and keep them alive. That's not easy.
No, I give the same spiel. The first time we sit in the car together. Hey, listen, it's my job to keep you alive, and it's your job to keep me alive. So
no pressure.
No pressure. But I'm a pretty easygoing guy, and it seems to help when because these guys get in the car and they're tight.
Oh yeah,
they are stiff, just like we all were. They are stiff, and it's like, fella, listen, hey, I'm here to help you. You're here to help me. Let's do this and let's be safe. And I think a lot of people hear that and okay, I can breathe a little bit. And it helps. I think it helps keep the guys loose, and they're more apt to learn. But you're totally right, Ken. I mean, there's no easing into this job. And
don't touch the radios or the lights.
Yeah, my big thing is my radio station. I don't listen to country music, so don't touch my radio station. But other than that, I'm good.
I think what I like, Jay, is my TO.
Yeah,
really kick back.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And it's I try to be. I've yelled at a couple of them before in the past, but I try not to.
Well, it sounds like you got to get the right personality for it, because I also worked at a smaller agency, and the sit down, shut up FTO isn't like the right approach for a place that small.
No, oh God, no.
Yeah, it sounds like you got the right thing going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, especially after after you're done and they're off of FTO, now they're your shift partner. So you don't want to be a total asshole to them right off the gate, or else it's going to be a weird situation,
Absolutely.
I remember when I was on probation, it was within my first, would have been within my first couple months. And they didn't let us drive for about 6 months. But there was one specific situation where my partner always drove, and we had arrested a guy. And so the guy was froggy. And so my partner he wanted to ride in the back with the suspect, which is normally not the driving officer. So he said, okay, I'm going to ride in the back with the suspect. You go ahead and you jump in the driver's seat. So this is the first time I'd been behind a police car. So I go to take the car out of the parking brake off, and the hood pops up. I'm like,
classic.
Oh my gosh. So talk about classic stupidity. But anyway.
Oh yeah, I think like the first 3 years as a cop, you do nothing but stupid shit. You know what I mean?
Oh man,
we've all been there. I may or may not have a door skin from my first 8 months on the job, where I may or may not have wrecked the car up, and the guys cut off the door skin for me. But So.
Yeah.
Yeah, cops will. You can never live down a crash or something else. They'll always ask if you're all right first, and then after that, it's over.
Oh, it's ruthless. Yeah, I mean, they call
balls for months.
My buddies at my first apartment called me Crash for 8 months.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
So,
yeah.
So Jay, can you give some advice to new police officers coming on the job, or maybe kids out there who are looking to get into it?
The advice I would give is, make sure that this is the job that you want to do. It's so cliche. It's like, it's nights, it's weekends, it's holidays, but it's so true. The schedule's rough. It doesn't leave you much time for, especially as a young man. I struggled with that for a while. I wasn't even 21 when I started police work. And, when you turn 21, you want to go out and have a beer on a Saturday night with your buddies, and you're scheduled to work every Saturday from now until eternity's over. That's hard, but you got to make sure that this is the job that you want to do. And Ken, I think earlier you said that this job is a calling. Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that, and do it for you to be a member of the community and really, just do it for the right reasons. That's the best advice that I could give anybody that's wanting to get into the job.
Excellent. That's and that echoes some advice we've heard in the past. That's good stuff. Ken, you have any parting questions for Jay?
No, this is really interesting. And Jay is he's got over 10 years on, so he's off probation for me. So he's an old salt. He's an old salt. I love these stories, and I think he's probably one of the. He's got a great personality to be a training officer. It's really good to meet you.
Absolutely.
Hey, I
Jay.
really appreciate that. That coming from you, Ken's a hell of a compliment. Thank you.
I love getting guys from smaller agencies on with good stories,
Yeah, absolutely. And I have some more, but, some of them I wasn't sure if I could, bring up open cases and whatnot. So, but I'd love to, down the line, I'd love to do it again with you guys. It's been great.
Oh, yeah. You shut those cases, Jay, and come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
About
Anytime you need me, man. Anytime you guys need me.
Oh, that's great, man.
Awesome, brother. Well, thank you so much again for coming on.
Hey, thank you, guys. You guys stay safe.
All right, brother.
Yeah, I'm gonna
do the outro here, and then will you hang on the line?
Yeah, sure thing.
All right. Hey, guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you'd like to support the show, go over to thingspolicec.com. When you get on the website, there's a few different ways you can show some support. You can donate directly. You can do a one-time donation or a monthly donation. Even $1 helps us keep the lights on over here, pays our expenses for the month, is greatly appreciated. You can also just use our Amazon affiliate link. If you just want to buy something on Amazon like you normally do, just do it through our link, and we'll get a little kickback for that. So you can go to the website and do that, or in the show notes, I'll put a link. You can just click right through that link. And the third way is you can buy some merch. So we have coffee mugs, we have T-shirts, men's and women's, and we also have hoodie sweatshirts now. So go over to thingspolicec.com and check it out. You can also just listen to the podcast there, or you can apply to be a guest. Just scroll down and click on Be a Guest, and what you want to do is just give us a brief synopsis of your service, how many years you were on the job, and just a very brief idea of the stories you'd like to share, and I will get right back to you. So thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.